What's going up, guys? Here doing a little bit of working on some servers and whatnot here in my VMware lab, and just trying some working on getting some stuff rolling. You guys won't be able to see what I'm doing here. I'm going to cover my face up just so it's you and me talking, just so we can sit here and chit chat. But just been real busy lately with trying to balance the work-life training and everything else that kind of goes into my daily grind together. So I'm sure you guys can understand how that goes with, study prep and other kinds of things. But I'm just going through life as a typical guy that works a lot. You don't really think about it until you're in the mix and actually working on it and doing the day by day stuff. But after a while you um, starts to become pretty becomes very consistent, and almost like you get complacent, do the same thing over and over again, and problems can occur and stuff like that, and you're just like, man, just I've just been crazy busy with with work, and trying to do the training thing, and just it's been interesting with a couple different things, because it's like um, one of the things that I'm constantly having to do day in and day out is balance that. You got issues with work, or you got issues with the home life, or you got you know uh, something you have to take care of, or I mean, everybody's got a honey-do list. So I mean, it's not like I'm kind of like preaching to the choir here with some things, but at the end of the day, it's all about you know how do you handle that. And I mean, there's no golden answer, obviously, but it's one of those things where you have to learn how to balance that type of stuff. And you know I remember I've had quite a few people ask me just recently about the CCIE exam, and it was tough. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It was tough, and but the only reason it was able to be, it was doable, was because of the fact that you know you put a lot of time and effort into it. I mean, it goes with just anything really that you put your time and effort into. It's you need to go in there and give it 110%, and maybe you needed to do 111 that day, but you didn't. You didn't have that extra little oomph to get over that line. But you got to do what you got to do, and after a while it just becomes who you are, and so it's people. Sometimes they underestimate the amount of time and effort it takes to get to a certain point, and I get that, but at the same point in time, there's actually a really good picture I saw on Facebook. It was of a little itty bitty iceberg coming out of the water, and then below the water was this massive block of ice, and it was dedication, sacrifice, commitment, this, that, and the other. And that really sums up what you and I do. It comes down to, we go out, we're in the trenches every day doing what we got to do. And I'm not complaining by any stretch of the imagination, but there is a level of, oh, I got to do this again, and it's just like, you know, uh, one of the things that I pride myself on is, if I'm going to be doing something and spending, you know, 12, 14, 18 hours a day on it, it better be something you like to do. And this is something that I like to do. I like to be able to share who I am with you guys, and you guys seem to appreciate that. At the same point in time, it's one of those things where, as you're going along and doing stuff, it becomes very becomes rewarding after a while, because then you start, you can, something you saw at home when you're labbing, you can now do at work, because, oh yeah, you've seen that already. An inherited value that comes with that. And I mean, that's only from you guys that have been doing this for a while, and you can take what you've seen or tested with, and then you can apply it to real world. There's a value to that, and nobody can take that away from you. It's something that's very, very, I hold close to me, because of the fact that it's something that I can take with me everywhere I go. The certifications are great, don't get me wrong, but there are certain things that the certifications don't prepare you for, and you've literally just got to get in there and get it done. The customer doesn't care if you've never done that before, or you know, you're having a bad day. You know, I mean, they're going to give you some level of, okay, we understand, but they're still going to be like, okay, fix my crap, you know. So there's, especially in the consulting world, if you don't deal with that world, maybe you've got a boss that's, you know, I've been underneath the thumb of the manager before, and you've got to just gotta get crap done. I mean, there's, and they will ride you until you get it done, because either they think you're going to slack off, or, you know, they're getting pressured from their bosses. And you know what they say, crap rolls downhill. So if the CEO is trying to get something done, he'll breathe down the neck of whoever he has to do to get the job done, and then down the chain of management it'll go until it hits you. I mean, it's as simple as it gets. But you know, it's one of those things where as long as you put the time and effort into what you've got going on, you know, life will figure itself out. You know, and whether it's you need to zig, whether you need to zag, it's really up to you at the end of the day. But you know, it kind of goes along with the Cisco exams and the VMware exams and stuff like that we all take. I find it funny though. It's a uh, a friend of mine. Well, I won't say a friend. Somebody that I know. If you and I don't talk on a regular basis, I don't really consider you a friend. Um, but there's this person that I know commented via email about some stuff, and he's just like, dude, he's just like, his comment basically was like, well, should I go take the CCA lab, and or should I re-up my written exam? And if you don't know this, you have to take the written exam in order to qualify for the lab. And if you don't take the lab within 18 months of passing the written, you have to retake the written again. The written is good for 3 years. You know, even as long as you take a lab attempt in the first 18 months of passing the written, and then you take a second lab attempt if you don't pass in the first one within 12 months of your first attempt. So as long as you fall inside of that category, you're okay. But he's just like, well, this is my 4th attempt at the lab. Should I just go ahead and take another shot at it, or should I re-up my written, which expires, you know, next month or whatever? And I'm like, okay, let's weigh the odds here real quick. $400 versus $1,600. I would rather pay $400 and re-up it and have that much more time to practice. You know, and I've been working with him on a couple of things that he was weak on, but I brought those areas up. Hopefully he passes on his next attempt, but it's one of those things where you have to really just go in there and get it done. And there's no other way of really breaking it down. Either you get in there, get it done, or you don't. I mean, I had to take the lab 3 times before I passed it. But I didn't want to turn this into like a technical video. I wanted to just keep it, you know, kind of free form and whatnot. Um, but it's kind of cool the way that you guys have been lately, and it's been very positive feedback and a lot of congratulations and whatnot. And I do appreciate that. You know, you guys have been awesome. You know, with you know, whether you're a recurring viewer or you know, just started watching or whatever. You know, there's people that, you know, all of a sudden they stumbled across a video that I did 3 years ago, and they're like, oh my god, how come I just found this now? And it's just like, well, because that's, you know, when you found it. You know, it's I need to do a better job of titling things so that it shows up inside of YouTube a little bit better, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. I mean, work has been good. You know, there's been training for INEs good. I've got a lot of stuff coming out here soon. I've been working on a couple different video series, a lot of small ones, and then I'm coming out with a couple big ones here soon too. And the bigger ones take longer to do, obviously, because it's more content and more time. But at the end of the day, it's you know, it's good stuff. You know, I like what I do, and that's really what it comes down to. If you don't like what you do, how are you going to spend as much time as I do on something? You know, it's I used to work in warehousing, so I used to, you know, pick boxes for a living, and you know, I can tell you one thing: I couldn't wait for the end of the day to come. You know, go home, and you know, a lot of times I would, if I was during the day, if I was operating the certain forklifts that I wanted to operate, if I was on a sit down driving in and out of trailers all day, I was a happy camper. I could go 14, 16, 18 hours. But you know, if you put me in the pick line and you're, you know, having me pick, then I'm going to work my 8 hours and I'm going home because I'm probably physically exhausted by the end of the day. But it's all about what you have to do versus what you want to do. And that's one of the things that, I like to train. I like to dig into stuff. I like to prep, and it's my hobby is what I'm doing here on the computer right now. I'm spinning up Windows servers and playing with VMware and playing with Cisco. I haven't done a whole lot of Cisco lately, and I really miss playing on routers and switches. I really do, because my day in and day out job, I don't do a whole lot of that. So I can't wait until I actually have to jump on a router or a switch, because then, and I'm so fast in the CLI that, I kind of like it. I get done with it too quickly. But that just comes from me being really good at what I do. And, so be it if that's the case. But, it's one of those things where you'll get good and you'll get too good. And then you'll be like, well, damn, I didn't expect to go through it that fast. But, you'll be like, okay, didn't expect that to happen so quickly. But, it just kind of goes with the flow. And it's one of those things where after you've been doing it for a while, you get to the point where you're like, oh, this is easy. It becomes so simple and so easy that you're like, oh, all right, no big deal. I can do that. Or you hear the customer talking about something and you don't even realize it, and you're already, thinking ahead and saying, okay, what do I need to do to get that to work? Or, whatever. And you begin to, think ahead and say, okay, what else do I need to get going, or what else do I need to do, things like that. And it just becomes inherent, it really does. So it's, it's cool in a lot of regards, and you become very, very cognizant of what you need to do. And, as I'm listening to customers talk and hearing them, or you'll even get this with your bosses, there's, just because I do a lot of consulting, I also have a lot of internal stuff that I need to do. And in order to get that done, it's got to be touched on and taken care of. But the big thing that I wanted to touch on real quick is doing what you want to do versus doing what you have to do. Now, some people might say, well, I really want to do X, Y, Z, but I can't because of ABCs in the way. Well, and I get that. I do. I know that more than anybody else. There were times I used to work in a 10 below freezer, 10 below Fahrenheit freezer for probably 3 or 4 years. Every day I wish to God that it was, they would just fire me because of the fact that I wouldn't have to go in the freezer anymore. I hated the freezer. But it was one of those things where the more you do something you don't want to do, the more motivation you should have to do what you want to do. And I put my time in. I spent 10 years in warehousing, and you get to a certain point where it just burns you out, man. You just get burnt out. And, at the end of the day, you're like, okay, no big deal. And you go about your day and you finish up and you go home, and if you're really serious about what you want to do, you've got to be able to put the time and effort into it. You're going to sacrifice a lot to get to where you want. And it was kind of funny. I was talking about this to my wife the other day, and we were kind of, I guess you could say, reminiscing on what it was like 3 or 4 years ago, back when I was making, $10, $11 an hour, working in a warehouse. And it was only a few short years ago, and here I am, fast forward to beginning of 2016, here I am, I have a CCIE, and I've got a CCNP, I've got a BCP5. Certifications are great, but they don't make me who I am. What makes me who I am is the drive that I have to get the job done, the drive that I have to learn this material. And where does that drive come from? Well, that drive comes from me liking what I do. I mean, really, that's at the end of the day, that is really what it boils down to. Because, like I said, if you don't like doing what you're doing, you're gonna do it just because of the fact you have to. If you don't like working 12-hour shifts, you do it because you have to do it, not because you want to do it. And that's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. And you really have to figure that out. I mean, no one's going to be able to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. And if anybody tells you you should do this or do that, if neither one is what you want to do, tell them, you know what, that's not what I want to be. That's not what I want to do. And if they don't have enough respect for you to say, okay, that's fine. Either you need to you might get some pushback. I got some pushback. I mean, I fought for a long time to get the support system to support the idea of me going back to school. It took a long time for me to get that. But once I went ahead and just pulled the trigger and started doing it, there was a lot of uh, pushback in regards to, you know, okay, he's said and done a lot of things, but hasn't carried a lot of them out. So once you start proving people wrong, and they start to see a change in you, they're going to be like, oh, okay, he's for real, and I'm like absolutely spot on, couldn't be any more, you know, about that. It's something you have to really put the time and effort into. No one's going to be able to do that for you. And, if you think that people are just going to, no one's going to carry the weight of the world for you. I mean, that's just as simple as it is. Nobody can, nobody will. And if they can, they'll try to. I mean, and more power to you if you have a family that's going to be able to do that for you. That's great. I could take all the help I can get. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, if you can't help me, that's fine. I appreciate you taking the time out to, determine whether you can or can't. And if you can't, you know what? That's cool too. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knock it out and, be the best person I can be for me. Because at the end of the day, the only people I give a crap about that I can physically touch and make a difference to is my immediate family. And that's, if you don't have anybody to, to take care of, you don't have a reason to do what you're doing, you need to find a reason why you're doing what you're doing. A good salary is one thing. It's a whole other thing for that to be your, the reason why you do anything. Because if you're just doing it because you have to, again, you're not going to put the time and effort into it. You're not going to have the same drive. You're not going to pound the pavement the way you need to. If you want to do it, you're going to put the time and effort into it. I mean, that's as simple as it is. That goes with anything you do. So, that's just boils down to what it is. I mean, if you really enjoy what you're going to do, what you do, it's going to be that much easier for you to get it done. So that's pretty much it. That's my motivational speech for the evening. But I'm going to start doing these things on a regular basis where, it's a one-on-one with me and you. You can post things in the comments and we can talk about stuff as we go along. And, if you have questions or, stuff like that, hey, throw them in the comments, like the video, subscribe, more power to you. But be who you want to be, not be who everybody wants you to be. Because when you're you, that's when stuff really starts to happen. When you're doing things that other people want you to do, you don't tend to put the right amount of effort into it. A couple of things that I want to do that are outside of the IT industry is I would love to get into flipping houses and, get into some real estate. And, I'm actually jealous of some YouTubers that are out there that have, 5, 6, 7 million subscribers and millions of views and whatnot. That to me, that's what I want to have. I'm jealous of those guys. And I started this YouTube channel up with the intention of, what process? Of course I didn't. I started this YouTube channel with the intention of just producing videos to be like a quality check for myself, and that has worked out quite well. But at the same point in time, it's one of those things where I could do better, but doing better in other things. So if I was to start doing, doing daily vlogs of the family and this, that, and the other, and doing different things, yeah, that probably would generate more views and more subscribers and things like that. But it would take away from things that I would rather excuse me, I would rather do, which is, study and get better at what I do day in and day out. So it's one of those things where, you have to determine where you're gonna do your thing and how you're gonna do your thing. So, but that's just me being real. So, that's what's up. You guys have been awesome. I want to thank each and every one of you for subscribing and watching. This channel wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for you guys, coming back. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about the viewers. It's all about your target audience. Who you're trying to hit. So, till next time, be cool with each other, be real, be good, peace out.